only thing we have to fear is
in war.
fear itself.
There is no substitute for victory.
Let us never negotiate out of fear.
We stand undivided, forever united, fighting hand in hand for the liberty we've earned, for glory and honor, for our sons and daughters, ever mindful of the lessons we've learned. Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome to the intersection of faith and politics. This is WallBuilders Live with David Barton and Rick Green. Thanks for joining us today. Visit online at wallbuilders.com and wallbuilderslive.com. Also send in your questions to radio@wallbuilders.com. That's radio@wallbuilders.com. And you can get a list of all of our stations across the country on that website at wallbuilderslive.com, as well as archives for the last few months of programs. So, David, one of the things that I think, I tend to kind of watch you on some of this stuff and try to see what really gets to you. And I've noticed that when you take away someone in the military's freedom of religion, man, that's one of your soft spots. That really does. I notice your cheeks get a little bit flushed.
No, that's not a soft spot. That's a hard spot.
Yeah.
That really ticks me off. These are guys that go out to defend our right to do all this stuff, and they're being denied that right. And particularly what ticks me off now is not only are they being denied, they're being singled out, and I would literally use the word persecuted. And I hate using that word, especially in America. I mean, we're not persecuted in America. Give me a break. Look at the Coptic Christians in Egypt, what happened there when Morsi and Muslim Brotherhood had. Look what's happening to the Christians under ISIS. That's persecution. But for what we are used to in America, to be singled out and to be fired or to be kicked out or to lose other of your rights simply because you want to exercise your free exercise of religion, that is ridiculous. And now we're seeing that at a growing rate in the military. On our website, we keep a running log of where this has happened in the military, and we often do programs on it because there are so many instances. We don't even try to cover all of them, but every once in a while, maybe once a month, we'll pull one out and do something because people just need to know. Because the guys in the military are not good at standing up for themselves. They'll stand up for others, but they're really not good at standing up for themselves. And so there's been a number of times that because of our relationships in Congress, I've been able to intervene with congressmen and say, hey, you guys may not know it, but the stuff that's happening out here with supplies or equipment or with rules of engagement or anything else, and I can get word to congressmen and they can do something about it. But these guys in the military are they're tough. They're used to just taking this and moving on. But it's gotten so bad now that we're starting to get people and organizations that exist merely to protect the constitutional rights of guys in the military. And that seems ridiculous to have to say that we should have to protect the constitutional rights of guys in the military, but we're now at that point.
Well, thankfully we have some folks out there that really specialize in this. And I don't usually do this, but I'm actually going to read you part of the bio of the gentleman we're going to have on when we come back from the break. You're going to love this, David, because he himself is a military veteran. He's actually a disabled vet. He was a Navy commander, a retired Navy commander. He served for 22 years, from 1972 to 94. He was assigned to 6 different ships and shore commands. He's qualified in all aspects of surface warfare, including command at sea, a graduate of the Surface Warfare Officers School, department head, on and on. I mean, just did a lot of really cool stuff in the military. But get this, while he's in the military, he attends law school at night while on active duty.
Wow.
He had a desire to learn in this area, to be prepared to defend people that couldn't defend themselves.
Wow.
And just has a love for this and obviously for defending veterans. So now he's executive director of the Military Veterans Advocacy Organization, and they have taken up the fight for one of the guys that I think probably a lot of our listeners have read about. He's kind of been nicknamed the Chick-Fil-A soldier. He's the one that served Chick-Fil-A at his promotion ceremony, and just got hammered for it all the way to the point now with all the harassment and the different things has been removed. And so
they've thrown him out of the military.
Yeah,
they've thrown him. Who cares how good a soldier you are? You like Chick-fil-A, and that disqualifies you from service in the American military.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
I'm sorry, I'm getting ticked off.
No, it's all right. I know you're getting it. It's getting you riled right now. So fortunately, Commander John Wells is now an attorney and with Military Veterans Advocacy, and he is defending this young man. I say young man, he's been in the military 20 years. He was to the point where he could retire if he wanted, but he's being forced out because of his beliefs and because of exercising his faith. Master Sergeant Nathan Summers is the guy's name. But we're gonna have Commander Wells with us when we come back. This is one of those that hopefully it does rile you up out there, folks, as you listen to this, and it'll make you want to be a part of the solution. Commander John Wells when we come back on WallBuilders Live.
This is David Barton with another moment from America's history. At the time of the American Revolution, numerous other nations also had revolutions, yet 200 years later, America is the only of those nations still under its original form of government. Is this just good luck? Not according to founding father Benjamin Rush. He declared, "I do not believe that the Constitution was the offspring of inspiration, but I am as perfectly satisfied that it is as much the work of a divine providence as any of the miracles recorded in the Old and New Testament." George Washington agreed. In fact, he declared, "I should be pained to believe that the United States have forgotten that divine interposition which was so often manifested during our Revolution, or that they fail to consider the omnipotence of that God who is alone able to protect them. Our founders acknowledged that our national success had come from God."
For more information on God's hand in American history, contact WallBuilders at 1-800-8-REBUILD.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back to the intersection of faith and politics. Thanks for staying with us here on WallBuilders Live. Our guest today is Commander John Wells, retired from the Navy and now Executive Director of Military Veterans Advocacy. Commander Wells, thank you for coming on, sir.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's an honor to have you, and thank you for the fights that you're engaged in right now, defending religious liberty and fighting against political correctness, but also thank you for your service in our military. We sure need you right now on the front lines that have apparently moved into the courtrooms in order to protect the rights of our soldiers and sailors.
I'll tell you, it's unbelievable. You know, it used to be you just go out to sea and think that's where you're going to get harmed, but now it's, as you say, we have to go into the courtroom because of all the political correctness and all the, I hate to use the term liberalism that's surrounding the military today. It's really gotten to be a difficult situation for our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, and also for our veterans.
Well, the only way that we're going to turn it around is guys like you willing to fight for them here in the courts, and Master Sergeant Nathan Summers, I'm sure, is very thankful that you have taken up his cause recently, apparently just over him exercising his basic rights as an American, ones that he did not give up by joining the military, has been fired.
That's pretty much true. He had the problem started out during the 2012 election when he put a No Obama bumper sticker on his car, and under the DOD regs, you are allowed to do that. In fact, there were people that had pro-Obama, re-elect Obama bumper stickers, and they were not bothered. He was threatened with violation of the Hatch Act, which was completely ridiculous because the Hatch Act doesn't apply to military personnel. We got that problem solved, and then it was just like a cascade of one thing after another.
Well, hey, before you move on to the other things, specifically to that one, when someone's singled out like that for their political beliefs, and a regulation is not enforced across the border, in this case there was no regulation preventing it, I mean, how do you stop that selective? And I guess I should back up and ask, was it an individual superior that caused the problem, or was it normal for them to go after the ones that had anything anti-Obama and do nothing to the ones that were pro-Obama?
Well, the problem came from the commanding officer, and he was an Army colonel who had spent all of his time in the Army band. As far as I know, he never had any operational experience, and he's just reflecting his own opinion, which you're not allowed to do. Now, at the time, and what we did to stop that was we filed what's called an Article 138 under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is basically a redress of grievances, and forced them to back off on that issue. But then, like I say, it just became a cascade of other issues, a matter of continuing to throw enough mud until some of it stuck.
Yeah, so apparently, from what I could tell in the article, it looked like even just simply choosing to read certain books by well-known authors, but because they weren't left-wing and they happened to be conservatives, he was chastised for that as well.
Well, that's exactly right. And unfortunately, after the first incident, he got on their radar, and so therefore they were watching him, and anytime they could do something, they would. I mean, he was reading books by Sean Hannity, David Limbaugh, Mark Levin, which are perfectly reasonable books to read. None of them are going out and promoting any overthrow of the government or violence or anything like that. And he was basically told he couldn't do that while he was in uniform. And the circumstances is, these guys were in a chorus. They would go, they would make appearances. But there was a long time while they were sitting around waiting or riding a bus to get back and forth to the concert, and everybody took books. But he was basically censored on the content, which is completely and utterly illegal. It's against the Constitution of the United States. It's against statutes. It's against the Department of Defense regulations.
How did he get the nickname, the Chick-Fil-A, Chick-Fil-A soldier?
He was promoted to Master Sergeant, and by tradition they have a party which the promotee pays for himself. So he decided, this is about the time that Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, so he decided he was going to serve Chick-fil-A at the promotion ceremony. He went out and he bought it himself. And then, of course, he indicated that was in honor of the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Well, you would have thought he would have committed treason or, tried to sell out all our top secret stuff to Al-Qaeda or something, because they just came down on him like a ton of bricks. And, he's got the right to do that. Absolutely.
And there's plenty of reasons to serve Chick-fil-A. I mean, waffle fries alone are delicious enough that you should serve Chick-fil-A at these things. But seriously, I mean, why would there be anything wrong with him choosing to do so, even in honor of the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell?
There's nothing wrong with it, and he was expressing a position, and interestingly enough, because they started an investigation, and we went back and said, this is not exactly what you think. Chick-fil-A's policy is to treat the individual as a, just like they treat everybody else. There's no discrimination, and he supported the fact that there was no discrimination against homosexuals. He objected to the homosexual marriage because, he feels that and the homosexual act is a sin in the same way that adultery or fornication is a sin. And based on his religious beliefs, he was not in favor and did not support the homosexual act or the homosexual marriage, which one presumes would lead to the whole homosexual act. So that was basically what his statement was don't discriminate against anybody, but, if your religion says you're opposed to this type of action, be it homosexual activity or fornication or adultery, that you have the right to say that.
Our guest today, Commander John Wells. Stay with us right here on WallBuilders Live.
This is David Barton with another moment from America's history. Shortly after the American Revolution, America had become the envy of the world. It still remains a wonder of the modern world as 219 years later, America has become the longest ongoing constitutional republic in the history of the world. What was the foundation upon which our founding fathers established this great nation? According to John Adams, the foundation was Christianity. John Adams declared, "The general principles on which the fathers achieved independence were the general principles of Christianity. Now I will avow that I then believed and now believe that those general principles of Christianity are as eternal and immutable as the existence and attributes of God." According to founding father John Adams, it was the principles of Christianity which formed the foundation for American government.
For more information on God's hand in American history, contact WallBuilders at 1-800-8-REBUILD.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on WallBuilders Live. Our guest today, Commander John Wells. He is representing a soldier that has been essentially attacked for his basic beliefs and living out his freedoms and his rights. Master Sergeant Nathan Summers removed from the Army simply because of books that he read and a bumper sticker on his car and just expressing his beliefs. And just to get a little bit into the process itself, Commander Wells, what exactly did they do to go after him?
Well, they started a semi-formal investigation, and that went nowhere. And what they did then was just basically write him a bad evaluation. And the annual evaluation is very important because that's what they use as a basis for promotion, as well as for retention in the military service. At the same time, they took him to what they call non-judicial punishment and basically made up some bogus charges. They said, well, you filed a false official statement. The false official statement was an email in which he got a date wrong. They accused him of not being where he was supposed to be. And so he said, well, yeah, I was where I was supposed to be. Here's all the evidence to show I was where he was supposed to be. Oh, well, how about on such and such a date? Well, you didn't tell me about that. I didn't bring the evidence for that. And, they basically hammered him on that. Then these two items went before what they call a quality management panel, which is a board that you did not have an opportunity to appear before. It's just some folks sitting down and looking at the records and, basically said, well, we're not going to retain him. We're going to put him out of the military. Now, we've since his retirement, and he had the time to retire, so he was able to do that, we've put in a suit in the Court of Federal Claims which says, no, that discharge was wrong, and that quality management panel should never have happened in his case, and therefore he should be restored back to active duty with full pay and benefits, retroactive.
So what's the next step in that process then?
Well, the suit was filed on the 1st of August. It takes about... they have 60 days to respond to it, and generally the government will ask for more time. I have not heard from them on this suit at all.
Yeah.
Actually, another one we filed the same day I have heard from them on, but this one so far no response, and we don't even know what Department of Justice attorney is going to be representing because they have yet to file anything.
How important is it, Commander, to for a guy like this to stand up and take on this fight rather than just retire and go away so that it doesn't happen again?
Well, that's exactly it. If we get a court case and a court precedent that says, hey, guys, you can't do this kind of stuff, then that's going to deter them from trying it with somebody else. And more importantly, if they do try it with somebody else, we can go up and say, hey, the court's already decided this particular issue, and the military's wrong. They can't do it. I mean, this is not the only case of this type we've got. I've got a couple of Baptist chaplains that got forced out of the VA because they prayed in Jesus' name and quoted Scripture, and one of them actually even said the Lord's Prayer. I've got an Air Force guy who said, well, and this is back before DOMA was found to be unconstitutional, said, I don't think we should be using West Point Chapel to do homosexual weddings. Well, they came down on him like a ton of bricks. It's just a constant problem. And throughout the country right now, and throughout the Department of Defense and the Department of Veterans Affairs, people are being persecuted for their beliefs. Now, Congress has taken some action. In the National Defense Authorization Act last year and the year before, they've come out and said, guys, you can't do that. You can't persecute people because of their political beliefs or their religious beliefs. The Department of Defense has come out with a directive to implement that. And quite frankly, it's a pretty good directive. But the problem is individual commanders will still do what they want to do. And until we can go and get enough court decisions to say, you can't do that, then it's going to continue.
Yeah, well, that's why we're so thankful for you taking on the fight, and obviously the individuals have to be willing to stand up as well. So please thank Master Sergeant Summers for us and for all of our listeners for him being willing to take on that fight. And if folks want to stay, follow the lawsuit and the other battles that you guys are fighting, the website militaryveteransadvocacy.org, correct? That's
right. www.militaryveteransadvocacy.org. And I invite people to go to the site, and we also have a Facebook page. And if they want to give a small donation, we are a 501c3 tax-exempt nonprofit organization as well.
Well, that's the only way you can stand up for these guys, is if folks from around the country are supporting you financially and with prayer and the phone calls and all the things that it takes for you guys to do what you do. We appreciate it very much, and very much appreciate you taking time to come on and inform us about it.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk with you today.
That's Commander John Wells. Back in a moment with David Barton. Have you ever wanted to learn more about the United States Constitution but just felt like, man, the classes are boring, or it's just that old language from 200 years ago, or I don't know where to start? People want to know, but it gets frustrating because you don't know where to look for truth about the Constitution either. Well, we've got a special program for you available now called Constitution Alive with David Barton and Rick Green, and it's actually a teaching done on the Constitution at Independence Hall, in the very room where the Constitution was framed. We take you both to Philadelphia, the cradle of liberty, and Independence Hall, and to the WallBuilders Library, where David Barton brings the history to life to teach the original intent of our founding fathers. We call it the Quick Start Guide to the Constitution because in just a few hours through these videos, you will learn the Citizen's Guide to America's Constitution. You'll learn what you need to do to help save our constitutional republic. It's fun, it's entertaining, and it's going to inspire you to do your part to preserve freedom for future generations. It's called Constitution Alive with David Barton and Rick Green. You can find out more information on our website now at wallbuilders.com.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on WallBuilders Live. We're back with David Barton now. David, you can just tell this guy was a commander. He's calm, cool, collected. He's got it. It's not going to get rattled, and that's exactly what you need. Somebody who's taking on the entire military for religious freedom.
You can tell he's been a commander because he has a very firm opinion of rights and wrongs, and doesn't hesitate at all to call it the way he sees it. Could you tell where they are in the process? I mean, what's happening?
Sounds like it's just started. So I mean, they've literally just now filed. I believe he said just last month that they filed, and so he doesn't even know yet which
court. That's right. That's
department.
Right.
Yeah, Justice Department attorney he's going to be dealing with. So it's very early in the process, which means it's a great time for folks to begin praying for them, begin talking it up, letting their congressman know about this case, donating to the organization so that they can defend this guy. Man, I mean, this is one of those we got to win.
I was listening to the other cases he was rattling off, and I hadn't even heard of several of those cases.
Yeah.
I mean, he was going through other soldiers that he's defended or is defending, and man, I hadn't even heard of some of those things. So,
I don't think, David, that I gave the website out earlier. It's militaryveteransadvocacy.org. Let's make sure we have a link today at wallbuilderslive.com. This is not, we have a lot of these legal organizations on quite often. I think it's maybe the first time we've had these guys on, so it sounds like a great organization for us to let people know about.
Yeah, it is a great organization because they are standing up for these guys, and the thing about these guys is they tend to be offensive-minded. They're going to take it at you, and that's really good. And the fact they're going at the Justice Department and the fact that he's been there, and by the way, let me just throw out, the fact that he's been in the military makes it really a whole lot easier for him to go to bat for these guys that are still in the military. And that's the one thing that the current administration is trying to outsource chaplains. They're saying, we can save a lot of money if we don't have chaplains embedded with the units. If we'll just hire chaplains and they can live in the local community and just do base chapels. See, the problem is when you get into a conflict. I was just talking to a chaplain today who's going to be deployed now on a 12-month Special Forces mission that he's got coming up. And so he's going back over into the middle of ISIS and Afghanistan, et cetera. Because he's been with Special Forces for so many years, those guys look to him and respect him. If you bring an outside contractor in that's not part of the military, what these guys have to deal with over there, a civilian doesn't understand. They don't understand what they've gone through, what they have to go through, their training or anything else. And it's so much more important to have people who are part of the military dealing with people who are in the military. So this Pentagon idea that, well, we don't need chaplains embedded with the soldiers, we'll just kind of hire them as hired contractors, bad idea all the way around. And so I use that as an analogy because what Commander Wells is doing and going to bat for these guys, that's the kind of stuff you want. People who are with them, who have been with them in the trenches, who know exactly what they're facing, who know how the system works, and will turn and fight for those guys within that system.
Well, fortunately, he's there, and it's like you said, there's other cases as well, so folks can visit that website today and follow those cases and also help these guys continue what they're doing, militaryveteransadvocacy.org. And David, he mentioned, the idea that this is, you have to do this, you have to win this case and fight this case, otherwise there's a chilling effect and others are going to be afraid. I mean, in this case, to even read books. Can you believe that? To read books by certain authors.
And everybody else is allowed to read books, but he didn't like the author you chose. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Well, that's why it's so important that Master Sergeant Summers is standing up, so that if they win this, and Lord willing they will, then it'll send the signals to some of these others that have tried to stamp out anybody with belief that they didn't share. That they just can't do it, and it's just going to take that. So
let me throw one other thing in here, because we've got a ton of military guys that listen to us all over the world. To get the podcast download, we get emails from these guys all the time, and we love and appreciate those guys. And I'm getting a lot of emails saying, "Man, this is not the military that I grew up in. It's not the military it was 5 years ago. I'm getting out. I've had it." Guys, don't get out. That's what they would like you to do. We need the good guys staying in. We need them not to be chased out. There is change coming. There always will be change coming. It's not going to stay the way it is now. There's a lot of people fighting back, so let's not let our good guys get chased out of the military, because you got a bunch of knotheads in the Pentagon that are trying to make a social experiment out of the Army. It won't be that under the next president.
Man, that is a great point, David. You guys hang in there. Help is on the way. Thank you for listening today. Once again, the website, militaryveteransadvocacy.org. We'll have a link today at wallbuilderslive.com. You've been listening to WallBuilders Live with David Barton and Rick Green.
Stand undivided.